was in quiet time, like, the first night that we were there. Or I guess it was, like, the second night. Like, I had been feeling pretty distant from God for this past, like, year or so. It's just, like, I hadn't really prayed in a really long time just because it was so hard, because I just couldn't feel like I could even talk to God. Jared Hurd had talked about how he hadn't been able to pray for a really long time, so it just kind of, like, got me, and, like, I was just like, oh, like, I'm not the only one who is, like, not able to talk to God. So, like, it kind of encouraged me, I guess. And so when I went to quiet time, like, I just was flipping through the book, and, like, it said to write down my thoughts and stuff. And then, like, after I wrote it down, like, the last thing that it said was, like, and this is, like, praying, like, it's just, like, explaining your thoughts to God and stuff. And I was just, like, praying, and I didn't even know it. And then, like, I just, like, got on this rampage, and so I got out my notebook, and I just, like, started writing prayer.
On Tuesday night at the session, there was the steward guy, and he talked about wanting to have a relationship with God. And then at the end of the speech, he said to have certain people stand up if they thought that the next step in their life they wanted to have was a relationship with God. And then there were tons of people that just stood up right away because they were so moved, and they just thought, I need to get in with God, and I need to have this person in my life.
On Tuesday night, when everyone stood up and claimed their faith and said that they want a relationship with Jesus, later that night we started singing, and I saw one of my friends start to cry, and I just lost it. I gave up on trying to have an image for myself and I just lost it. It was a night where I was rocked in my faith. I was completely torn apart. I can't explain it. Like, there's a verse that Mark read to us that said pretty much you can't explain when the Spirit comes into you and you're in worship, and that's exactly what happened. I was singing Stronger, and I just started screaming the lyrics, and people were looking at me, and I at that point just didn't care. I was lost in a world with just God and I.
In every one of the worship sessions, the worship was so intense. It almost moved me to tears each time, but Tuesday night I would say it would be the defining moment for myself and the kids. They had a moment where they asked kids who hadn't accepted Jesus yet to stand up. That just rocked my world, and it was just so emotional at that point. And there were so many kids that stood up in our group that I think as leaders we all kind of looked around like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Like, it was almost overwhelming, but in such a good way that it was very moving, very powerful.
I remember, like, it was almost like a smack in the face when we were singing the same love that conquered the grave lives in me. Like, if you really think about that, it's like the most powerful love that made a dead man rise, you know, dwells in each and every one of us. That's powerful stuff. And who am I to be worthy of that? And that's the beauty of grace.